Good morning, students. This is CA Vibhavathavan. So we'll be continuing with the budget and budgetary control where we left yesterday. So I hope you've gone through all the concepts which we have discussed yesterday relating to, budgeting and forecasting and budgetary control and all the different types of budgets and some of the fixed and flexible budget we just discussed in detail and we did a lot of questions. So now let me just give you an overview of all the budgets once so that we'll start with the illustrations. So we did the capacity-wise budget, fixed budget and flexible budget. Good morning all of you. And then the function-wise budget. So as I told you yesterday, the master budget is broke down into different functional budgets. All right. So functional budget, sales budget, we already discussed yesterday. Production budget, we have discussed. So the starting point is always the sales budget. Once we know that how much units to be sold, then we have to decide on the production schedule, production capacity, how much units to be produced, how much will be the cost of production. So then we decide on the plant utilization, the plant capacity, whether in the working hours or in the labor hours or in the machine hours or the entire setup. Then we come to direct material consumption budget. So once the production is done, how many production volume is decided, then we plan on the raw material consumption. And after raw material consumption, then we decide the raw material purchase, then direct labor, and then the factory overhead starts. So factory overheads means, again, whatever are the factory indirect expenses are, the budget we make. Then production cost budget. So sometimes production cost budget is made along with the production budget only. So production budget is the quantitative budget and production cost budget is the financials budget where we calculate the cost of production. So what it's all included in cost of production: direct material, direct labor, direct expenses, factory overheads. Everything from direct material till factory overheads, everything is part of cost of production budget. Then ending inventory budget. Ending inventory means closing stock budget. So we have to decide on the closing inventory. All right. How much closing inventory we are desiring to maintain. So once we have to, we decide on the closing inventory, the ending inventory budget, then only we can calculate cost of goods sold budget. Yeah. So the ending inventory, again, it's a lot of decisions to be made. How much closing stock you need to maintain in an organization. All right. For different stocks, for raw material, for WIP, for finished goods. So we decide upon the closing stock. Then cost of goods sold budget. So once we are ready with the cost of production budget, once we are ready with the ending inventory budget, then we can make the cost of goods sold budget. All right. Once we have the desired closing stock of finished goods also, then we make cost of goods sold budget. So cost of production, when we adjust the finished goods inventory budget, then we get the cost of sold budget. Course, then the rest of the overhead, selling and distribution cost budget. So selling and distribution. What's the difference between selling and distribution? Can anybody tell me? Good morning. Good morning, students. Okay. You want it to be first slightly zoomed, so I hope that this must be better. All right. So selling and distribution. What's the difference between selling and distribution? What I was asking. What's the difference between selling and distribution? Any answers? Anybody has any idea? You must have done the overheads and we have done the cost sheet also. So selling and distribution. So, what's the difference between the two? Any answers from anybody? Selling and distribution budget. So come on, give me the answer before, till then, let me proceed. Administration expenses budget. So all sorts of general administrative expenses, salaries and stationery and telephone and depreciation of office building. So everything relating to the office area, that territory is called as administration expenses budget. The cost which is incurred to make sales, which is what? Selling or distribution or both? See, selling, all the expenses which are incurred, the cost which is incurred to increase the sales. All right, whether it's advertisement, whether it's sales promotion, whether it's giving so many discounts, whether the salesman commission, everything related to just boost up the sales is called the selling expenses. Distribution are more concerned about logistics, transport, warehouse, from bringing the goods to the consumer. All right. So from the factory or the office till the consumer, the movement of goods from the company or the factory or the organization till the it reaches the consumer, the logistics cost, the transport cost, warehouse, delivery vans, everything is related to distribution. All right. Secondary packing, etc. Cost of creating a demand is selling, good. Cost of distributing is distribution expenses. Yes, all the transport expenses. Product and marketing, yes. So, whatever you are doing to increase the sales, clear? Whether it's advertisement, whether if your salesmen are running from door to door to promote the sales. So anything which you're done from marketing and selling, that is called of selling. And all called logistics and transport cost is part of distribution. So the categories of selling and distribution, what all selling expenses we can have, what all distribution expenses we can have from the past experiences, from future projections, what all new cost can be incurred to promote the sales. Everything will be part of selling and distribution budget. Administrative budget, as I told you, it's all about the administrative expenses in the especially in the office area. Then we have the capital research and development budget. Very, very important. Research and development. Research is, it's a continuous process. You cannot just stop that, okay, this product is ready, and you just cannot stop. You have to improve the product. You have to improve the method of production. You have to improve the processes which can enhance the value of the product. All right. And which can, of course, increase the demand of the product. So if you have to increase the characteristics of the product, if you have to improvise the product, if you have to refine the product further, you have to do research. All right. And once if you think that, okay, this research is beneficial, then you develop the product. Then you further develop the product. And so that is which is called as research and development. So the preliminary research, if you think it's beneficial, it's going to, some sort of cost benefit analysis is done, then the development stage comes. So both the costs are combined, research and development. So we make the budget of research and development. And after the development stage, then the commercial production cycle starts with the new improvised product or method of production or a new process or a new technology. So then the commercial production starts after R&D is successful. Yeah. So research and development, generally in every organization, you can have research and development, a certain proportion maybe of your sales, or maybe let us say every year the management decides 20% has to be incurred for research and development. So you have to make that budget. Subject to, of course, the objectives of the organization and approval of the management. So how much money or how much cost you have to incur for R&D every year. So which is why we make it a research and development budget. Then will be capital expenditure budget. Again, capital expenditure means capital. It's like, capital investments. It's about the capital receipts. So you're planning to purchase any asset, you're planning to purchase any equipment or a building or a machinery. So that again, you have to plan in advance. And again, it's mainly the territory of the top management. It's their involvement, a lot of involvement of top management for capital expenditure and R&D budget. So if you want to, if you want to go for issue of shares, if you want to go for, long-term loans, or you want to make investments in assets or machinery, it's all about capital expenditure budget and cash budget. Cash budget is so very significant. Cash budget will give you an idea how much cash you will be having and how much cash you need to arrange in advance, so that there should not be any working capital crunch. So cash budget will tell you, what will be the cash receipts in the future, depending upon, let us say, from where the cash receipts come, from the debtors, from the sales, from cash sales, from credit sales, from the debtors. So especially, moreover, cash receipts come from debtors and the cash sales. Clear? And then cash payments. So you need to plan the cash payments also. What will be the projected cash payments in the budgeted period? So you have a lot of expenses. You must have, you have purchased on credit also. So creditors and everything. So what all cash payments you will be having in the budget period? And then the net cash balance. So cash budget can be made quarter wise. It can be made month wise. It can be made fortnightly. So it can be made 6 monthly or half yearly. It can be made annual. So cash budget, depending upon the budgeted period, and especially cash budget is made for the quarterly. So because, you cannot estimate the cash for long term generally. So cash budget is the net of cash receipts and cash payments. So what are the projected cash receipts you will be having? What are the cash payments you will be making? And what is the net cash balance you will be having every month or every quarter, whatever is the budget period. All right. So these are about the overview of all the budgets, and some of the budgets we've already done. Yes. Good morning, students. Then the master budget. Master budget, as we discussed yesterday, master budget is basically, you can say the entire cost sheet. All right. And the entire cost sheet again can be broken down into functional budget. So we will have the prime cost, we'll have the direct material, direct labor, direct expenses, we'll have the factory overheads, we'll have the admin overhead, then we'll have the selling and distribution. So master budget gives you complete picture. All the direct and all the indirect cost, whatever is the projected profit, everything will be a part of the master budget. And then so we make a master budget also and different functional budgets also, as we just discussed. And then of course the period wise budgets. So long-term budgets ranges till 10 years. अगले 10 साल तक का budget बनेगा. So these are for the industries where, like shipbuilding, बहुत ज़्यादा time लगता है उन revenue आने में, and the process of it takes years, more than 2 or 3 years it takes. So long-term budgets ranges till 10 years. It's a long-term budget. Short-term budget, less than 2 or 3 years. So 1 to 2 years or 3 years maximum is the short-term budget. So basically the industries which have, which go beyond 1 year, but not more than 2 or 3 years, short-term budget, current budget. So generally we make current budgets only for 1 quarter or for 2 quarter or for 6 months or for 15 days somehow, so for 1 month somehow. So current budgets are within a year if we make the budgets, the very, very short-term budgets. So these are the current budgets. Which help us to, current budgets basically enhance the operational efficiency of the organization. So, you can always monitor and review it. So current budgets are always better because they are for very, very short period. So you can review. So if you have made a quarter budget, so if there are certain deviations, you can make changes and update for the next quarter. So current budgets actually increases the operational efficiency of any organization. All right. So let us move on now. This already we have done yesterday. These illustrations, I think we have done. Sales budget we have done. Okay. So this also purchase budget we have discussed yesterday. Okay, I suppose okay, this also illustration we did yesterday. So labor cost also budget we discussed yesterday. Factory overhead budget we discussed. Okay, so this illustration, I guess we left on this illustration. So there were 2 products and we discussed that. So let me tell you. Okay, so this was the production budget. This the illustration we left yesterday. So there are 2 products, MM and HH, and we have to make a production budget. So how we make the production budget? We start with the sales. The sales is always the starting point, as I discussed yesterday. Sales. So this much is the sales which we require. Add some desired closing stock. We always maintain some closing stock. And then what is already available? So less opening stock. So production units, that means the balance has to be produced. So what is to be sold plus some stock we will maintain in the inventory, and then less what we already have in the inventory. So balance is the production we have to make. All right. So that is the fresh production. So this is the production cost budget, the same question. So production cost budget. So this question is a good question where, you are getting the production in units and production in cost. So production cost means material cost, labor cost, and factory overheads. So production cost comprises of three major elements, direct and indirect. Direct is the prime cost. Total prime cost is part of production cost, and factory overheads is also part of production cost. And any admin overhead, if it is related to production and R&D and everything, that is all part of production cost, which we have done in the cost sheet, if you remember. All right, so now we have one illustration. We'll be starting with the master budget. Okay, just take a note of this question. So we'll be making a master budget. So we have the sales. There are two types of sales, toughened glass and bent glass. Direct material cost is given to you, 60% of sales. Direct wages is also given to you, the information. Factory overheads are given to you. Stores and spares are given to you. Depreciation, light and power, repair and maintenance, admin, selling and distribution expenses. So we have to prepare a master budget for the next year. All right. So let's start. Let us do it and prepare a master budget. All right. So sales, we can start with the sales here. Let me just try to do it here only so that you understand. Okay. So we start with sales, which is 6 lakh and 2 lakh. So 8 lakh is the sales if I start over here only. So sales is 8 lakhs. Okay. Then we have the less. So we'll be starting with the variable cost first. Direct material cost, 60% of sales. Can you tell me the direct material cost? Direct material cost, 60% of sales. Just start the format. Okay. So it has to be direct material, 4,80,000. It will be deducted. All deductions should be in brackets. Direct wages, 20 workers at 150 per month. So how much will be the direct wages? 20 into 150 into 12 for the next year. That means for the entire month. So it will be 36,000. Direct labor, 36,000. 20 workers into 150 per month into 12 months. Then we start with factory overheads. You can segregate between fixed and variable also. So factory overheads, indirect labor, works manager, indirect labor should be a fixed overhead. 500 into 12. So just add factory overheads, 500 into 12. Foreman salary, 400 into 12. So just add the foreman salary. Yes, so it's 480,000. Yes. Then proceed. So direct material, direct wages is done. So we are done with the prime cost. All right. Now add the factory overheads. You can segregate the factory overheads into fixed and variable also. So that's one way of doing it. So works manager, foreman, you can take it as fixed. Stores and spares as a percentage of sales. So as a percentage of sales, it has to be variable. If it's a percentage on sales, it should be variable. Depreciation on machinery, you can take as fixed. Depreciation on machinery, you can take as fixed. Light and power, 3,000. Light and power, you can take it as fixed or variable. You can write a note over there. So you can just write a note. It's always better to write a note if, it can be taken as fixed or variable. Repair and maintenance, again, you can take it as fixed or variable. Sometimes we take it as variable. Sometimes we take it as fixed. So you can always write a note. Other expenses, other sundries, 10% on direct wages. 10% on direct wages. So it can be taken as variable because it's percent on direct wages, which again is a variable cost. Admin, selling and distribution is fixed. Admin, selling and distribution is fixed. So first you can calculate the prime cost. Then you add the factory overheads. And later you add the administration selling. Stores and spares is 20,000. Okay, stores and spares to 5.5% on sales comes to 20,000. So I'm getting the figures good. Just add admin selling also. It can be taken as fixed. Calculate the total and then you can calculate the profit. So profit at the end, add all the costs. So it's an entire master budget starting from prime cost to the cost of production to the cost of sales, till the last. All right. So you can show the breakup also. Prime cost, then you can show the cost of production after adding factory overheads. Then you can add later the administration, selling and distribution and calculate the total cost. Deduct it from sales and you'll get the profit. Net profit, I'm getting 1,90,000. So I'm getting the net profit from another student. 1,90,000. Cross check your figures. 1,90,000 the profit should come. Any other answer? All right. Okay, good. So we have got the two answers for net profit. So that means it appears to be correct. 1,90,000. So a very simple master budget, but we'll get a fair idea how the master budget is made. Let's move on. All right. So we have a clear solution also. So we have the sales, then the cost of production. Cost of production includes prime cost plus factory overheads. So again, factory overheads is again segregated into fixed and variable. So light and part, they have assumed to be fixed. You can assume to be variable also. All right. And then you deduct this administration, selling and distribution expenses and you get the net profit, which is 1,90,000. So this is the complete master budget. Just have a final look at the solution. All right, let's move on. Okay, students, we have another illustration, a good illustration. Let's take a note of this. A single product company estimated its quarter-wise sales for the next year. Quarter-wise sales and for the next year. So the estimation Q1, Q2, Q3 and Q4 sales are this. Opening stock of finished goods is 6,000 and the closing stock of finished goods at the end of the year is this. So opening stock is given to you. So opening stock must be at the beginning of Q1 and closing stock, this amount is at the end of the Q4. Clear? The production pattern in each quarter is based on 80. Okay, so they have given directly the production pattern. Normally, we calculate the production. How we calculate the production budget? Sales plus closing stock minus opening stock. So that information also they have given. But also they have given the production pattern. 80% of the sales of the current quarter and 20% of the sales of next quarter. And the company maintains 20% of sales of the next quarter as closing stock of the current quarter. Okay. So they maintain 20% of the sales of next quarter as closing stock of current quarter. Opening stock of raw material. So this is the information for raw material. This is raw material information. All right. So this is raw material information. The company purchases to purchase the entire annual requirement. Okay, so we have another part of the question. Purchase of raw material. So this is regarding the purchase of raw material. You're required to prepare production budget, raw material consumption and raw material purchase in quantity and value. And raw material consumption in quantity. So first of all, of course, we have to make the production budget. So this is the information for raw material purchase. And this is the information for raw material consumption. And then the first paragraph is for the production budget. So for the production budget, what you require? For production budget, you require sales, add closing stock, and less opening stock. All right. So you have, we follow this format for production in units. production in units, but they have given us the production pattern also. So we can calculate the production, the total production units first. Total production units we can calculate here because they have given us directly the production pattern. We don't have to follow quarter-wise this format. But yes, total we can do. So what is the total of the sales? Can anybody tell me the total of the sales? 30,000 plus 37,500 plus 41,250 plus 45,000. 153,750. 153,750 is the total sales, total budgeted sales for the entire year, because they have not given us the opening stock for every quarter. Closing stock at the end of the year, so we can just add it over here. 12250 plus 12250 minus opening stock is 6,000. Minus opening stock is 6,000. So it comes to 1,60,000 units. 1,60,000 units should be the production. The total production units is 1,60,000. We don't know the quarter wise. For quarter wise, we have been given the production pattern. So these three lines belongs to this. So let us see, let us do it. Quarter number 1, quarter number 2, quarter number 3, and quarter number 4. All right. We have to start with the sales. Production is based on sales. So let's write the sales. 30,000, 37,500, 41,250 and 45,000. We have written the sales. First of all, we have calculated the total production units from total sales, because closing stock was given to us and opening stock was given to us. So we calculated the total production units. Now we will be calculating the quarter-wise production on the basis of the pattern given in the question. Now the production pattern directly will calculate the production. All right. And we'll see if the total comes to 160 or not. Let us see. The production pattern in each quarter is based on 80% of the sales. So we'll be calculating the production now. Directly the production quarter-wise. Quarter-wise production in units. 80% of the sales of the current quarter. So 80% of the current quarter and 20% of the sales of next quarter. So 80%, 30,000 ka 80%. 24,000 will be from the current quarter, all right, and 20% from the next quarter. So 37,500 ka 20% will be the production for the first quarter. So 37.2 into 37,500, 7,500. So the production for quarter 1 comes to 31,500. This is the production pattern given. 80% of the sales of the current quarter plus 20% of the sales of next quarter is the production for the current quarter. All right. Yes. Now let's move on to the second quarter. Second quarter, the sales of second quarter is 37,500. So 80% of the sales. 37,500 into 80%. 30,000 sales तो second quarter का ही production होगा. And 20% from the third quarter. All right, 20% from the sales of third quarter. So 41,250 into 20%. 8,250. All right. So it's 38,250 is the production for the second quarter. Can you give me the figures for the third quarter? Come on, give me the figures for the third quarter. I want the production for the third quarter. Calculate, hurry up. You'll understand it better once you calculate on your own. Come on, I'm waiting for the answers. Amount for the third quarter. I need the production amount for the production units for the third quarter. And then for the fourth. Give me for the third quarter first. Any answers coming? Yes, second quarter is 38,250. For the third quarter, 42,000. What is 42,000? Total or 80%? At least be very clear what answers you are giving me. 42,000 is it total? Can anybody clarify this, or should I calculate? All right, 33. That's a better way to give the answer. So third is 33,000 and 9,000. All right, so 33,000 and 9,000. This is a better way to give the answer. So it comes to 42,000. Let me raise it off. Okay. 33,000 and 9,000. Let's talk about now fourth quarter. 45,000, 80% of 45,000. 45,000 into 80%. 36,000 of the current quarter. What about the 20% of the next quarter? We don't have the amount for the next quarter. That means the first quarter of the next year. We don't have the next quarter. So how we will be calculating the closing, the 20% part in the first quarter? The last line, just look at the last line. The company maintains 20% of the sales of next quarter as closing stock of the current quarter. All right. So as closing stock of the current quarter. So जो current quarter का जो closing stock है, वही next quarter की 20% sales है. Is it clear? So they have given you the closing stock at the end of the year. The closing stock at the end of the year means it's the closing stock of the last quarter. And they are saying closing stock of the current quarter is 20% of the sales of next quarter. That means 12250 is 20% of the sales of next quarter, because we maintain 20% of the sales of next quarter as closing stock of the current quarter. So this is the highlight of this question. The information will tell you the closing, the 20% of the sales of next quarter for quarter 4. I hope you have understood this. Yes. 20% quarter 4, 20% what? 20% of the sales of next quarter. Clear? So 20% of the sales of next quarter we keep as closing stock for the current quarter. And the closing stock for the last quarter is already given to us. So 12250, closing stock of the last quarter of the year basically. Closing stock at the end of the year मतलब ये last quarter का closing stock होगा. And this line says कि जो closing stock होता है quarter का वो 20% of the sales of next quarter है. So that means 12250 must also be the 20% of the sales of next quarter. So this way we got this amount, 20% of the sales. Now you can calculate 45,000, okay, 36,000 plus 12250. It's 48,250. So 48,250, this is the production units we have calculated on the basis of production pattern given in the question. Clear? So production, we have to have the sales before the production. We cannot calculate production budget unless we have the sales estimate ready. All right. So this is how we have given. Yes, closing stock is given in the question. And closing stock, the question says closing stock is actually the 20% of the sales of next quarter. Clear? So which is why we have taken 12250 as 20% of the sales of next quarter, which automatically becomes closing stock of the current quarter. Now we will be moving after production budget. What is in line? What is the sequence? We have to calculate raw material consumption budget. All right. Raw material consumption. So production is done. Now raw material consumption. So we'll be focusing on second paragraph. The opening stock of raw material in the beginning is this, and the closing stock at the end is this. Each unit of finished output requires 2 kgs of raw material. This is the information required for raw material consumption. Students, we have to just do the total of production. Just do the total of production units. It should come to 1,60,000. Is the total of production 1,60,000? I've already explained you, Sushil. Just now, I'm again explaining you. You have to read the question. The question says 20% of the sales of next quarter, we also keep as closing stock of the current quarter. And if you see this line, we have been given closing stock 12250 at the end of the year. So closing stock at the end of the year is given to you. At the end of the year means at the end of the fourth quarter. फोर्थ क्वार्टर का क्लोजिंग स्टॉक आपको दिया हुआ है साल के एंड में. साल का एंड मतलब फोर्थ क्वार्टर. एंड द क्वेश्चन ऑल्सो सेज कि जो आपके करंट क्वार्टर का क्लोजिंग स्टॉक है वो नेक्स्ट क्वार्टर की 20% ऑफ सेल्स है. तो हमें नेक्स्ट क्वार्टर की 20% सेल्स नहीं पता, लेकिन हमें करंट क्वार्टर का क्लोजिंग स्टॉक पता है. तो क्लोजिंग स्टॉक ऑफ द करंट क्वार्टर एंड 20% ऑफ द सेल्स ऑफ नेक्स्ट क्वार्टर आर सेम. आई रिपीट, as per this line of this paragraph, 20% of the sales of next quarter and closing stock of the current quarter are same. So we have been given closing stock of the quarter. It is automatically becomes 20% of the next quarter. That is why we have taken the same amount. Clear? So just read the question. You will understand it better. Yes. Total production. Okay. So total is total production coming to 1,60,000? Great. Total production should come to 1,60,000 because we have already calculated the total production on the basis of total units. Total sales at total closing stock less opening stock, we get the total production. And here we have calculated the quarter wise production also directly on the basis of production pattern. Directly दिया हुआ है तो हमने directly production निकाल लिया. हमने वो quarter wise नहीं किया at closing less opening, वो जरूरत नहीं थी इस question में. ठीक है? So now with the production budget ready, we have to start the raw material consumption. So raw material consumption budget we have to make, and it has to be made in units. So these many production units is ready. So this is the production to be done. Production units to be done, and to make 1 unit of finished output, 2 kgs of raw material is used. So just multiply by 2 into 2 into 2 into 2, and this will be total. This will be total. Clear? So you will get the raw material consumption here. Raw material consumption units you can get. Just calculate the raw material consumption units. Just calculate raw material consumption units very quickly. Production units we have, to make 1 unit of output, 2 kgs of raw material is used. We just require the consumption pattern for calculating raw material consumption. Multiply all the units by 2 because 2 kgs are required to produce 1 unit. So how much total raw material will be used? Quickly give me the figures for raw material consumption units for all the 4 quarters and total. Total should be 3,20,000. 1,60,000 into 2. So total raw material consumption should be 3,20,000. Any answers coming? All right. So 63,000. Good. This is a good way to give the answers. You have to specify also. First quarter this, second quarter 76,500 is the second quarter. I'm just writing the figures as I'm getting on the screen. Make sure that the calculation is correct. I hope the calculation is correct. So this is raw material consumption units. Raw material consumption in units. All right. Now we'll be making the raw material purchase budget. So raw material purchase information is also ready. So we are just, on the correct screen. So we have the raw material consumption units. It says purchase of raw material. Any other information here? Okay. The company proposes to purchase the entire annual requirement of raw material in the first 3 quarters only. So the company says that the entire raw material requirement, jitna bhi hame chahiye, will purchase in the first 3 quarters only. And the prices are given below. All right. So now how much we require? Raw material purchase budget. Raw material purchase budget. How we calculate raw material purchase budget? So raw material purchase budget is your consumption units. This much we require at desired closing stock. What all closing stock we want to maintain in the inventory. कुछ raw material inventory में भी तो रखोगे आप, है ना? So whatever is required, consumption is 3,20,000. How much raw material you require? Add closing stock. So consumption is 3,20,000. How much raw material you wish to maintain? It's given in the question, these two lines. Closing stock is 5,000. Opening stock we already have is 10,000. So we wish to maintain 5,000 more closing stock. So it will be 3,25,000. The total requirement of raw material. 3,20,000 we require for production. 5,000 kgs we require to maintain in inventory. So this is the total requirement of raw material. Less raw material we already have. Opening stock, we already have 10,000. So that means 3,15,000 of raw material we need to purchase. 3,15,000 raw material we need to purchase. I hope this is clear to you, all of you. Yes, good. So many students are giving the answers. That's great. All right. So raw material purchase. This is the raw material we need to purchase. I explain again. Raw material consumption, 3,20,000 units we require. We want to have a desired closing stock of 5,000 kg. So total raw material requirement is 3,25,000 kgs. Out of this, 10,000 kg we already have. It's given in the question. So the balance 3,15,000 we need to purchase. 3,15,000. In the first quarter, we are purchasing 30% of it at the rate of 2 per unit. Second quarter, we will be purchasing 50% of it at 3 per unit. And in the third quarter, we will be purchasing 20% of it at 4 per unit. So do the total, you will get raw material purchase cost. The raw material purchase cost. You have to calculate the raw material both in quantity and value. Clear? So this is how it is to be done. Yes, we have to deduct 10,000 units from stock to purchase. So we have deducted. It's a deduction. So 3,15,000 and the company says that we will purchase all the raw material requirement in the first 3 quarters only. 30%, 50% and 20% और तीनों quarter के rate अलग हैं. All right. So this will give you the purchase cost. All right. So can you tell me the raw material purchase amount? Purchase of raw material, it's the quantity or the amount? Okay, quantity. It's the quantity. So quantity in the first quarter, 94,500. And the second quarter, 157,500. 63,000 in the third quarter. Tell me the raw material purchase value. Raw material purchase value. Or the total raw material cost also you can give me. All right, one student has calculated raw material cost. Total 9,13,500. 9,13,500 appears to be the raw material cost. Any other answer? Any answers coming? Is this cost correct? Raw material purchase? Raw material purchase cost. Is it understood? All right. So we have got the amounts also. Yes. So the total raw material cost should be 9,13,500. So just have a last look at the question. We started with the production budget, the total production, and the basis of production pattern, we have calculated the production. 20% of the sales of the production of the fourth quarter is the highlight of this question. Yes, but it's always better. See, again, in that case, I have to go back again to the question again and again. So it's always better if we solve it there and then only. And we have the clear solution also to make you understand better. So sales in 4 quarters. So this is a clear solution. You can say we can calculate, we have calculated the production. Then the production units we have calculated as per the production pattern, 80% and 20%. So this is the production budget in units. Then we have the raw material consumption budget. So this is the total consumption. And then the raw material purchase budget, 3,15,000. And now the raw material budget, purchase budget in value. So this is the final raw material purchase cost, and this is the purchase quantity quarter-wise. All right. Take a last look so that we move on. Done? Clear. So let's move on. We have another illustration here. Just take a note of this illustration, all of you. Okay, so this company has two products, product A and product B. They use two types of material, X and Y, and one type of labor. So we have given the budgeted sales. So sales we have, material consumption per unit we also have, and the labors also we have. So as seeing at the question, budgeted sales is there, material consumption and labor. So we must be, supposed to make the production budget, consumption budget, purchase budget. And I also could see the labor hours budget here, since standard labor hours also is given. So material X and Y, the cost is given. Material X and Y, the cost is given per kg of X and Y respectively. And labor is paid 25 per hour. So this is the information for labor. So here from this and this, the information of labor is there. Labors are paid 25 per hour. That's a normal wage rate. Overtime is paid as 50% premium and is payable if the worker works for more than 40 hours a week and there are 180 direct workers. The efficiency ratio for the productive hours worked by direct workers is 80%. So their efficiency rate is 80%. What do you mean by that? If let us say the hours required are 10 hours for any job, but the worker is 80% efficient, that means the worker is going to take more than 10 hours. Clear? If you are more efficient, you will take less time. If you are less efficient, you will take more time. All right. So, but the workers are 80% efficient. That means they will be taking more time than required. In addition, the non-productive downtime is budgeted at 20%. So again, it will take even more time because non-productive time is also 20%. तो एक तो worker वैसे ही ज़्यादा time ले रहे हैं, ऊपर से non-productive time भी और है. So the time taken will be even more. So that will be calculating. There are 4 5 days week. 4 5 days week. All right. In the budgeted period. And it is anticipated that sales and production will occur evenly through the whole period. So any other part of the question here? Okay, so they have given us the stock at the beginning of product A and B and material X and Y. And closing stock also they have given product A and B and material X and Y. All right. Last part of previous question not done. Which last part? Stores ledger. Okay, so all right, let us just complete it because I don't have the have the last part here somehow. So we'll be discussing, if there's a time, we'll be discussing at the last. Let us just start this question first, because the last part was not there here. So, but we'll be discussing at the last, when the time is there, we'll be discussing this. So let's just note down this question first. So we have the opening stock and closing stock also given for the budgeted period, and calculate the material purchase budget and wages budget. Okay, so we have to calculate the purchase budget and wages budget. We cannot directly make the purchase budget. We have to make the production budget first. Then we have to make the material consumption budget, and then only we can make the material purchase budget. So if they have been given that calculate material purchase budget, that means we have to calculate the production and consumption automatically. We cannot do it before that. So let's start the material, the production budget first. Let us see the production budget now. The production budget starts from the sales. So product A and product B. So I'm doing here only. See, I have to do it here only because otherwise I have to come back to the question again and again and again. All right. You will only get confused. So that is why I do it here only, so that the question is also side by side. Budgeted sales are 2,400 and 3,600. So it is the sales first. 2,400 and 3,600. 2,400 and 3,600 are the sales in units. Then what we add to the sales to calculate production budget? Come on, what we calculate, how we calculate the production budget? The sales is there. The sales in units are there. What we do after that? How we calculate the production? What we add to the sales? What should we add to the sales? What should we add to the sales? Come on, quick answers. We are calculating the production budget first. So what we add to the sales? Closing stock. Okay, so we will be adding the closing stock first. So let us say the closing stock is given here. Yes. Okay, so this is the closing stock. 4-day sales and 5-day sales. Product A and B, 4-day sales and 5-day sales. Kitna total days kitne hue? Total days. There are 4 5 days week. That means 20 days total working. The total productive days are 20 days. There are 4 5 days week. So ये जो सेल है ये 20 days की सेल है. और क्लोजिंग स्टॉक जो है वो 4 days and 5 days sales है. Clear? So the closing stock for product A, if I calculate here only, what is the sales for product A? 2,400 is the sales of product A, and the closing stock is 4 days sales. So into 4 divided by 20. So product A's closing stock is 4 day ki sales. Or total sales 20 days ki hai. We have to convert into days. So there are 20 days. 4. There are 4 5 days week. So 20 days. 4 into 5. So 20 days total. And we have to convert the information into days. So 24 into 4 by 20. How much is the closing stock? 20 days total. How much is the closing stock? Okay, 480. So I've been given the answer. Add closing stock 480. Similarly, for product B, 3,600 is the sales into product B ka kya hai closing stock? 5 day sales. So product B, it's 3,600 into 5 divided by 20. Into 5 divided by 20, it comes to 900. Product B closing stock comes to 900. 4 day sales and 5 day sales. So this is the total, whatever it is, minus opening stock. Minus opening stock is given to us. Product A and B, opening stock. 400 and 200 units. 400 and 200 units. 400 and 200 units. See, again, I have to scroll down, up and down, up and down. If I do the solution also and at the third place, so then everything will be very complicated. Production. So now the production units. Please calculate the production units for A and B. We have done with the production budget. We have got the sales. We have calculated the closing stock day wise, and the opening stock was already given. Calculate the production units. This illustration is in the study material itself. You just look in the study material. It's there in the study material only, and a very good illustration. That's why we have taken this illustration. It's a very, very good illustration that will, clear your concepts of the whole sequence. We have the sales, then production, then consumption, then purchase, then labor budget. So this is a very good question where you will be making 4-5 budgets in one illustration, and one follows the other. All right. Okay, 2480 and 4300. 2480 and 4300. 2480 and 4300. We have got the production units for product A and product B. So production budget is ready. Now after production budget, which budget we have to make? What comes in sequence? Which budget we should make after the production budget? Come on. We have made the production budget. It's ready. After production budget, which budget we should make? All right, somebody has given the page number also. Just follow the page number. I don't know the page number, but it's in the study material only. Okay, which budget will follow after this? Quick answers I need. Which budget will follow after production budget? Purchase budget, no? Wrong, not purchase budget. How can you, how do you know how much to purchase unless you know how much is consumption? We have to make raw material consumption budget. So many times I have repeated. Sales budget, production budget, raw material consumption budget, then raw material purchase, and then the labor budget. All right. Raw material consumption budget. So now what are the types of raw material? 2 types of raw material, X and Y. So I'll just erase it off so it becomes clear to you. So I'm erasing the all the extra things so that you have a clear picture. X and Y, 2 raw materials are there. So we have to calculate raw material consumption. So now we have the production, product A and product B. So A and B. How much raw material is used in A? Let me just give a space also here. So A and B. This is product A and product B. All right. In product A, how much, what is the units? 2480, and product B, the units are 4300. See, you are making raw material budget now. So raw material should come on top of it. All right. On the horizontal axis, raw material should come now because you require the information for raw material now. Product A, how much raw material X is used to make product A? 5 kgs. All right. And material Y, 4 kgs. Or first of all, we can do for material X. So material X 5 kgs लगता है A में और 4 kgs लगता है B में. This is for, and 3 kgs लगता है B में. So this is for material X. 2480 into 5, material X. पहले material X को देखेंगे. Material X 5 kgs in product A and 3 kgs in product B. Can you tell me the consumption of material X in A and B? Total consumption of material X? Yes, it's all raw material consumption budget. Not purchase, it's consumption. Srinivasan, question has asked for purchase budget, but how can you make purchase budget without you're making consumption budget? We'll make the purchase budget, don't worry. But you have to make the consumption budget first. I'm telling you the sequence. That means it's not clear to you still. I'm repeating for the last time, the sequence. The question has asked purchase budget, but you cannot make purchase budget unless you have the production budget and material consumption budget. We'll make the purchase budget. So you should be very clear and pay attention. The sequence is sales budget, then production budget, then raw material consumption budget. Only then you can make raw material purchase budget. So Srinivasan, I hope it's clear to you. All right, 12,400 is what? Students, please be very specific when you're giving me answers. 12,400 is what? The total of X or A and B? Or shall I calculate on my own? Okay, this is a better way. X for A is 12,400. Please be very particular when you're writing the answers. And B is 12,900. And for B is 12,900. So the total consumption for X is 25,300 kgs. 25,300 kgs. Clear? Similarly for Y, quickly give me for Y. For Y is 2480. 4 kgs of Y is used in product A. And 4,300. 6 kgs are used in product B. So just give me the figures for Y. Y for A and Y for B. All right, 9920. I'm taking this figure 9920. Y for A and Y for B is 25,800. Please cross check the answers. What is the total? Total for Y 25,800 plus 9920. I hope this figure is correct. So 35,720. 35,720 kgs are required for material Y and 25,300 are required for material X. 35,720. All right. So this is the total consumption of material X and Y. I repeat, we started with the production budget. See, the question asked me material purchase budget. There is the way the students can go wrong. You cannot make raw material purchase budget directly. You have to have the production units. You have to have the raw material consumption units. Only then you are start. So now it's all part. This is the हम लोग ग्राउंड वर्क रेडी कर रहे हैं. अब हम असली बजट पे आएंगे जो क्वेश्चन पूछ रहा है. रॉ मटेरियल परचेज बजट. So now we are good to go. We have all the information to calculate raw material purchase budget. Clear? So we have the raw material consumption with us. Now we will be calculating raw material purchase. So this is the consumption, which is the consumption. That means raw material we require for production. X ka 25,300 and Y 35,720. Now we add the closing stock of raw material. So consumption budget se hi purchase continue hoga. All right. So consumption quantity is with us now. Add closing stock of raw material. So closing stock of raw material is here. Again, it's a day consumption, 10 days consumption and 6 days consumption. What is the closing stock? Look at the information for closing stock of raw material. 10 days consumption and 6 days consumption for material X and Y. So 25,300 आप 20 days का consumption लेकर चलो. ठीक है? So for material X, 25,300. For material X, 25,300 is the total consumption into 10 divided by 20. 10 days का consumption है उसका closing stock. Total consumption of material X is 25,300 और 10 days का consumption है closing stock. तो total consumption 20 days का आप लेके चलोगे because it's a 4-5 days week. Clear? And for this, for material Y, how much is the total consumption? 35,720. 35,720 is the consumption for material Y. 6 by 20. So 6 by 20 is the closing stock of material Y. Can I get the figures for closing stock? Can I get the figures for closing stock of material? Any answers? What is 12650? Closing stock. Okay. So closing stock 12650. Good. It's half of basically consumption. And 10 for why I'm getting different answers. Why? 35,720 into 6 divided by 20. It is 10,716. 10716 is the correct answer. Add closing stock. Now less opening stock. Less opening stock will get the material purchase. Opening stock is given in the question 1,500. 1,000 kgs and 500 kgs is the opening stock. Here we'll get this is the material purchase budget. Clear? So we started with the production. Production से हमने material consumption निकाला. Consumption is the starting point for material purchase budget. So consumption of material, add closing stock. तो ये तो total requirement है material की और इतना हमारे पास already है. तो कितना purchase करना है? All right. So consumption, add closing stock, which will give you the total requirement for raw material. इतना consumption चाहिए और इतना और closing stock we will maintain. उसमें से opening stock जितना हमारे पास already है वो less हो जाएगा. So the raw material purchase. Can I have the raw material purchase? Okay. So the better way to give the answer 36,950 and 45,935. Please cross check the answer. Raw material purchase quantity we have got. Quantity. Kgs. 36,950 kgs and 45,935 kgs. Is this correct answer? Please cross check. Please cross check the answer. Is this correct answer? Okay. 36 is the answer. 36. Okay. 45,936 kgs is the material purchase. All right. So this is what all else is done. Wages budget. इसके बाद आपको wages budget बनाना है. So we have done till material purchase budget. I hope till material purchase budget. And then of course the material cost is also there. Material cost of so price per kg. Price per kg of material is also given. Just calculate the price 4 and 6. Into 4 and into 6, you will get the material cost. So you can calculate. Purchase kgs we already have. Multiply by price per kg of raw material 4 per kg. Rupees 4 per kg for X and rupees 6 per kg for Y. It's given in the question. Yes. So calculate the total material cost. 36,950 into 4 and 45,936 into 6. So this is the total material cost you can calculate. Let me see if there is, all right. So we have the clear solution also. Number of days 20. Budgeted sales, add closing stock. So we have converted into days. So we have got the production units for A and B. Then we have the purchase budget. For purchase budget, we require the consumption first. So this is the consumption first for material X and material Y. This is the consumption. You add the closing stock, you deduct the opening stock, and you get the quantity to be purchased. You multiply by rate per kg, and you get the material cost. So this is the material cost. So material purchase budget is started by material required. That means material consumed. All right. Yes. So this is the total material cost 147,800 and 275,616. I hope things are clear to you. Let's start now the labor budget. All right. So let us go on to the information for the labor budget. All right. So we have the product A and product B again. So let me just do it here only. Otherwise, we have to scroll down, up and down. So says we have done the production budget. We'll start with the directly with the production. I'll do it here only so that you better understand. Okay, so we're starting with A and B again, A and B, and we have the units of A and B. what were the units of A and B? 2480, 4300. 2480 and 4300 are the production units of A and B. Now the standard labor hours required per unit of product 3 and 5. So into 3 and into 5. So this will give you the standard labor hours required. 2480 into 3 hours and 4300 into 5 hours. तो प्रोडक्ट ए में 3 आवर्स लगते हैं एक यूनिट को बनाने में पर यूनिट ऑफ प्रोडक्ट, और प्रोडक्ट बी को बनाने में 5 आवर्स लगते हैं. सो टोटल आवर्स कितने लगे ए और बी को बनाने में? यस, ए एंड बी. लेट मी डू इट. 2480 into 3, 7440 hours. Clear? Answer is in hours. And 4300 into 5, it's 21,500 hours. इतने hours लगने चाहिए. It should be 74. What is standard? Standard means what it should be. So 7440 hours should be used, and 21,500 hours should be used to produce the 2480 and 4300 units of B. तो क्या इतना ही टाइम लगेगा या ज्यादा लगेगा? ज्यादा टाइम लगेगा. क्यों? You have this information now. Pay attention on this information now. Labor rate is 25 per hour. Overtime is 50%. If a worker works for more than 40 hours a week and there are 180 direct workers. Is it clear? So the productive or the efficiency ratio for the productive hours of the direct workers in actual manufacturing the product is 80%. उनकी efficiency 80% है. अगर 100% efficiency होती तो 7440 और 21,500 hours लगते. So standard means at 100% efficiency, but they are only 80% efficient. That means they will take more time. So 7440 100% efficiency पे होता है, but आपकी efficiency तो 80% है, आपको ज्यादा time लगेगा. तो 7440 into 100 divided by 80. अगर इनके हिसाब से हम और इनका हिसाब से अगर 100% पे आए तो ये 9300 hours ये लेंगे for product B or for product A. For product B 21,500 hours तो तब लगेंगे अगर वो 100% efficient हो, बट वो तो 80% efficient है, मतलब वो और ज्यादा टाइम लेंगे. So 21,500 into 100 divided by 80, 26875 hours they will take. Because they are 80% efficient. This is very, very important. They will take more time. क्योंकि वो कम efficient हैं. And उससे भी ऊपर और भी क्या है यहाँ पे, whatever is mentioned, non-productive downtime is budgeted as 20% of the productive hours worked. उनका इसके ऊपर भी downtime चलता है 20%. Idle time समझ लो आप कि they will have a lunch break, they will have a tea break, machine का setup में time लगेगा. So 20% time और जा रहा है. So that means 20% time और लगेगा. Clear? So 26875 plus 20%. प्लस 20% और टाइम लगेगा इनको. 32250 आवर्स लगेंगे बी के लिए, और इसमें भी 20% टाइम और लगेगा. 9300 प्लस 20% 11160 आवर्स. तो दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल द स्टैंडर्ड आवर्स, जितना टाइम लगना चाहिए, शुड बी 7440 एंड 21,500. ये उतना टाइम लगना चाहिए, बट वर्कर्स तो एफिशिएंट ही नहीं है, वो 80% एफिशिएंट है, तो उनको ज्यादा टाइम लगेगा. सो उनको कितना टाइम लगेगा? 9300 आवर्स एंड 26875 आवर्स. बट 20% और डाउन टाइम चलता है, तो और 20% एक्स्ट्रा टाइम लगेगा उनको, क्योंकि उन्होंने 20% और टाइम वेस्ट करा है. तो प्लस 20% उनको और एक्स्ट्रा टाइम लगेगा. तो ये आपके टोटल टाइम एक्चुअल आवर्स वर्क्ड. 11160 plus 32250. Actual hours worked are 43410 hours. Actual hours worked हैं 43410 hours for total product A and product B. इतना पूरा का पूरा टाइम इन्होंने काम किया है. ठीक है. तो आपको बेसिक वेज रेट तो मिलेगा 25 पर आवर का बेसिक वेज रेट यू विल गेट। सो 43410 आवर्स पे 25 पर आवर का बेसिक वेज रेट, तो जितना आपने काम किया उतना बेसिक तो सभी को मिलेगा। सो 43410 into 25. So I'm writing somewhere here. All right, so I'm erasing this part. I'll be writing it over here now. Just calculate the amount. All right. So 43410. So wages labor budget क्या है? 43410 into 25. ये तो total तो मिलना ही मिलना है आपको. So 10,85,250. इतना तो बेसिक वेज रेट पे टोटल टाइम जितना आपने काम किया है, यू विल गेट द बेसिक वेज रेट। सो 10,85,000 प्लस 250। नाउ द ओवर टाइम। तो ओवर टाइम आपने कितना काम किया? नॉर्मल टाइम कितना होना चाहिए? 180 इंटू 40। 180 वर्कर्स हैं एंड मोर देन 40 आवर्स अ वीक। सो 40 आवर्स का वीक है, 180 वर्कर्स हैं और 4 वीक्स हैं इंटू 4। सो टोटल नॉर्मल आवर्स कितने हुए? 40 आवर्स अ वीक इंटू 4 वीक्स इंटू 180 वर्कर्स। 28,800 टोटल आवर्स होने चाहिए। दीज आर द नॉर्मल आवर्स। ऑल राइट, दीज आर द नॉर्मल आवर्स। सो ओवर टाइम आवर्स कितने हुए यहाँ पे? हाउ मच इज द ओवर टाइम आवर्स? लेट मी इरेज इट ऑफ। So how much are the overtime hours? Overtime hours are 43,410. The actual hours minus the normal hours, 28,800. These are the normal hours. 43,410. 14,610 are the overtime hours. Overtime hours. So जितना आपने normal hours काम किया है, normal basic rate तो मिलेगा आपको, और जो भी एक्स्ट्रा आवर्स आपने काम किया है उस पे 50% प्रीमियम आपको और मिलेगा। दैट मीन्स 50% ऑफ द बेसिक वेज रेट। बेसिक वेज रेट इज 25, तो 12.5। सो 14,610 इंटू 12.5 ओवर टाइम प्रीमियम अलग से मिलेगा एक्स्ट्रा आवर्स के लिए, इंटू 12.5। सो 1,82,625 total wages paid. 1,82,625 total wages paid should be 12,67,875. This is the total wages to be paid. Is it clear? So let me just cover the whole story again. The standard hours should be 7,440 and 21,500, but the workers are 80% efficient, so they will take 20% more time. So 9,300 hours and 2,687.5 hours they are going to take. Clear? But 20% और टाइम खराब हो रहा है डाउन टाइम से, सो 20% टाइम और लगेगा। सो 11,160 प्लस 3,2250 टोटल आवर्स जो काम किया है दैट इज 43,410 आवर्स। जितना भी काम टाइम आपने काम किया है यू विल गेट द बेसिक वेज रेट फॉर श्योर। सो इंटू 25 पर आवर द बेसिक वेज रेट। सो ये तो आपके बेसिक वेजेस हैं, दिस इज द बेसिक वेजेस यू विल बी गेटिंग। All right, plus overtime premium. Overtime premium means extra hours के लिए overtime extra amount आपको मिलेगा जो 50% है। प्रीमियम रेट है 50%, तो जितना भी आपका बेसिक वेज रेट है 25, 50% इज द प्रीमियम और ओवरटाइम प्रीमियम। So that means 12.5 per hour आपको एक्स्ट्रा मिलेगा for the extra hours worked. So what are the extra hours worked? First you have to calculate the normal hours. So 40 hours a week and there are 4 weeks. So 40 hours into 4 weeks into 180 workers. So the total hours, normal hours should be 28,800, but you have worked for 43,410 hours. So the excess hours are 14,610. For this, you will be getting overtime premium also. ठीक है? तो जितना भी आपने एक्स्ट्रा आवर्स काम किया है उसका बेसिक वेज भी मिलेगा आपको और ओवर टाइम भी मिलेगा. तो बेसिक वेज तो हमने टोटल आवर्स में ऐड कर दिया है. So 12,67,875 is the labor budget. Yes. Beta, there is no shortcut in CA. This is not any BA, BBA or even MBA exam. Anna? So it's a chartered accountancy course and it's a chartered accountancy exam. So if you will follow the same pattern which we follow for BCom, BBA exams, कि ठीक है एग्जाम के 4 दिन पहले पढ़ लेंगे और हो जाएगा, फिर नहीं होगा. Because the pressure will build up and you will actually get nervous and you will lose all the concepts. You will not even remember. See, it's a regular thing to do and it's the difficulty. It's a CA exam. So you need to understand. You have to maintain that difficulty level. You have to do that extra hard work. आप अगर नॉर्मल 3 घंटे पढ़ रहे हो तो यहाँ आपको 8 घंटे पढ़ना है. All right. So if you really want to do this course and if you really want to crack it, you have to give the extra to it. All right. So again, एक दिन जाएगा तो pressure build up होगा. So there are so many things to do and like what I'm seeing from the what all the queries and what all the interaction I'm having with you all, the concepts are not clear. First thing. The second thing, you are not practicing the units and modules what already has been happened before. जो मॉड्यूल 1 में किया था, 2 में किया था, 3 में किया था, आप लोगों को याद नहीं है. So unless you do it, like yesterday some students were having problems how we segregated semi-variable into fixed and variable. Till this stage, at this stage you should be thorough with the segregation of semi-variable into variable and fixed. All right. So you have to be hands on it. It's not कि exam से पहले सब कुछ revise करेंगे. No, it cannot be done like this. Clear? So you have to be very, very clear on this. Yes, at normal 20. बेटा आप दोनों तरह से कर सकते हो. 28,800 में आप बेसिक निकाल लो. फिर जो आपके एक्स्ट्रा आवर्स हैं उनको भी तो आप दोगे ना. 14,610 जो आवर्स हैं उनको भी तो आप 25 भी दोगे और 12.5 भी दोगे. तो इधर आप 28,800 पे निकालो, नहीं तो आप 43,410 पे निकाल दो. ठीक है, वो आपको बेसिक वेज रेट तो आपको देना ही है. सो ईदर यू कैन डू दिस वे or you can do this way. If I do it over here, 28,800 पे 25 पे निकालो what you are saying. और बाकी जितने एक्स्ट्रा आवर्स हैं 14,610 इनको भी तो 2 में दोगे, 25 भी दोगे और 12.5 भी दोगे. तो मैंने पहले 25 वाला टोटल ऐड कर दिया. All right. So again, you should know how to do things in different ways. सिर्फ एक ही तरह से नहीं आपको कैलकुलेट करना. कंसेप्ट फंडामेंटल यू हैव टू फॉलो. देयर कैन बी डिफरेंट वेज टू सॉल्व अ सिंगल क्वेश्चन. ऑलराइट. तो अगर दूसरे तरह से सॉल्व कर दिया तो आपको लग रहा है कि ऐसे क्यों नहीं किया. सो इफ द फंडामेंटल इज क्लियर यू कैन डू इट एनी विच वे. सो 28,800 इंटू 25 पहले नॉर्मल वाला कर लो. फिर जो एक्स्ट्रा आवर्स है उसको भी 25 रुपीज भी तो दोगे आप. उनको बेसिक भी दोगे और ओवर टाइम भी दोगे. सो व्हाट आई हैव डन, आई हैव फर्स्ट डन द टोटल इनटू 25 और फिर 4610 को मैंने सिर्फ ओवर टाइम प्रीमियम दिया है. ऑलराइट. सो इट्स वन एंड द सेम थिंग. द आंसर शुड बी 12,67,875. हाउ वी गेट 9,300 फिगर. 7,440 should be the standard. 7,440 should be the standard. ये तो तब होगा जब 100% efficiency है. Worker is 80% efficient. So 7,440, pay attention here, Kiran, if you are listening. 7,440 into 100 divided by 80. So it will be 9,300. Clear? 80% एफिशिएंसी है, तो आपको आपकी 100% पे आप कितना टाइम लोगे? नॉर्मल 100% पे 7440 है, लेकिन आप तो 80% एफिशिएंट हो, तो अगर आप 100% एफिशिएंट होगे तो कितना टाइम लगेगा? तो लगेगा 9300। तो आपको 9300 लग रहा है, आपका 100% एफिशिएंसी पे 9300 है, बट नॉर्मल 100% पे 7440 होना चाहिए। ऑल राइट, सो दिस इज हाउ व्हाट इज डन। एंड लेबर बजट हमने बनाया है, सो somebody was asking what we need to calculate, so we are calculating the labor budget here. Clear? So let me show you the clear solution now of the labor budget. So this is the labor budget. This is the standard hours allowed. This is productive hours required for production at 80% plus 20% और add किया है. So this is the total hours. So total hours paid. Okay, so this okay, so Kiran, यहाँ पे भी वही किया हुआ है. Maybe आप you are following this, so that's why you didn't understand what I did. But I also did the other way of doing it. All right. So 2800 पे आप पहले बेसिक वेज रेट कर लो, और इतनी 37.5 भी तो दो ब्रेकअप है, पहले बेसिक वेज भी है और ओवर टाइम भी है, तो मैंने टोटल 25 पे पहले कर लिया. 28,800 प्लस 14,610 को मैंने टोटल पहले 25 पे कर लिया, फिर 14,610 को मैंने 12.5 पे किया. इट्स वन एंड द सेम थिंग. क्लियर? So this is the labor hours budget and the labor cost budget. So you have to make a wages budget in hours and the cost. So students, here we'll be taking a break of 10 minutes. Just, go through this illustration again, try to understand, and we'll come back after a break. All right. Thank you. Welcome back, students. Just let us quickly continue. So there are certain illustrations. Left out part of the stores ledger. Let me just, okay, so that stores ledger, students actually see that the thing is, we have to, the idea here is not to solve each and every question and every part of, there are so many questions of the study material in RTPs and mock test papers. The idea here is, the objective is to clear the fundamentals. All right. Rather than solving each and every question and every part, that is again not possible. But still you have asked, let me just explain you what is that all about. So you want the part 4 of the stores. Okay. So the consumption which we did, that wala question. Let me see where we have made it. Which question you're talking about? This wala question, right? See, you have to make a stores ledger budget. So stores ledger budget, basically, you have to make the opening plus purchase, less consumption and the closing stock. Clear? So that is the stores ledger you have to do. So let me just explain you how to do it and then you can do it. Clear? So the stores ledger, as per the FIFO method, they have said. So opening stock of raw material is already given. The starting point is already given to you, opening stock. Then you add the purchases and it is quarter wise. So first quarter, second quarter, third quarter and fourth quarter. Then minus consumption and then you have the closing stock. All right. So this is the format which is there. You can safely do it. I'll just explain you basically an overview. Opening stock is already given to you. 10,000 kgs is the opening stock which is already given to you in the question. Again, I have to scroll up and down because it's an elaborate question. So 10,000 kgs is already given to you as the opening stock, the starting point. Purchases we have calculated and the purchases budget. So opening stock is the starting point which is given to you. Purchases for all the 3 quarters you have calculated and the purchase budget. Clear? So purchases ये आपने निकाले थे यहाँ पे, purchase budget के all the 3 quarters के purchases you have with the purchase rate. So you have the purchases of with the purchase rate. So तीनों quarter में purchases में तीनों quantity और rate आ जाएगा and amount आ जाएगा. So purchases में वो आ जाएगा. Consumption budget also you have calculated. See, this is the consumption budget you have calculated. For all the 4 quarters, you have consumption also. For the 3 quarters, you have purchase also. So purchases भी आपके पास हैं with the rate. Consumption आपको FIFO method से निकालना होगा. Clear? So 63,000 kgs का आपका consumption है. तो आपको accordingly देखना होगा कि कितना consumption है. तो जिस FIFO method, what is the property of the FIFO method? The property of the FIFO method is जिस lot से आप issue कर रहे हो उसी lot का rate लगेगा. Is it clear? So similarly, आपका जो भी आपने consumption लिया है, जिस quarter का से आप consumption ले रहे हो, जिस lot से आप consumption ले रहे हो, उसी lot का rate consumption में लगेगा. ये आपको ध्यान देना है. This is the, because which is the property of the FIFO method. All right. So you have the consumption for all the 4 quarters. You have the purchase for the 3 quarters. Closing stock will automatically become the opening stock of the next quarter. So this is how you can complete the stores ledger. It's not very difficult. That's why I must have skipped, because we have basically focused on the more technical portion. A stores ledger you can safely make. You have all the information. So purchases you have calculated for 3 quarters. Consumption you have calculated for all the 4 quarters. But आपको सिर्फ इसमें याद रखना है, FIFO method will be applicable for consumption. So consumption जिस lot से आप ले रहे हो, उसी lot का rate जो purchase का rate है वो लगेगा. For example, अगर आपने 63,000 kgs you have taken from the lot of first quarter purchase. First quarter का consumption आप first quarter की purchase से लोगे तो उस consumption का rate 2 लगेगा, जो आपका issue का rate लगेगा. ऑल राइट. तो जैसे जैसे आपकी क्वांटिटी खत्म होती रहेगी, दूसरा लॉट आ जाएगा. फिर आप जब सेकेंड क्वार्टर का रेट यूज करोगे तो उसका रेट 3 लगेगा एंड सो ऑन. ऑल राइट. And then you will calculate the closing stock also. Then closing stock will automatically become the opening stock. Now try the stores ledger. I have explained you how it is to be done. Now you can do it. All right. Let us move on to the more concepts of budgetary control. Okay, so there are a few other illustrations also. ओपनिंग बैलेंस का कोई रेट नहीं होता. क्लोजिंग बैलेंस ऑटोमेटिकली बिकम्स द ओपनिंग बैलेंस. ऑल राइट, क्लोजिंग बैलेंस ऑटोमेटिकली बिकम्स द ओपनिंग बैलेंस. So now coming on to students, there are certain illustrations which you can practice now, because we have to cover some concepts and one very important question of RTP also, which is for 2024. So if time is saved, then we'll come back to these illustrations. But again, this presentation will be shared and you can just, practice on your own as well. So this is again, this is a question of sales budget, which, you can just practice. It's a simple sales budget question, not very, complicated. So you can do it on your own. I have to concentrate more on the concepts which we have to cover in under the budgetary control, because, a lot of queries and a lot of time it takes, and I have to cover the main concepts also here. So this illustration you can practice later. You will have this presentation and another, this also illustration from the study material. Again, not very technical, you can understand it. So just I explain you that first of all you have to make the budget for the two products A and B, and then you have to make the next year budget where one more product is introduced, product C. Clear? So not very technical, not very difficult. You can understand it. So you can do it on your own. But if time is there, we'll come back to the one of these illustrations if the time is there. So you can see the current position. For the current year, there are two products. And for the next year, you have to make the budget for 3 products on the basis of information for the next year. Clear? So again, it's for, you have to calculate the contribution here. So sales minus variable cost, you get the contribution, less fixed cost, you get the profit. Clear? This illustration also you can do it. But I have to cover one very important illustration so that, and some few concepts like zero-based budgeting. So let's quickly move on to these concepts. So zero-based budgeting, very, very clear that for every year, for every budget period, for every, next quarter or whatever for the budget you are making, you have to start from zero. You will not take anything from the past trends. You will not take any past analysis. You will not take into consideration any past performances. Every year, the budget period will be a fresh budget. Every time you have to justify it. So of course, it's a very tedious process, but it saves a lot of cost. All right. It saves, unnecessary budget allocation by the managers. So sometimes what happens is, like if I have to, I will escalate the budget. कि मुझे तो 5 crore चाहिए for, let us say, like every year I've been allocated the budget. तो इस साल भी मुझे budget में मेरे department को पैसा मिलेगा budget में. So let us say my department this time also. So I escalated ki I need 5 crores. So I've already, overrated all the cost so that 5 crore मांगेंगे तो 3 crore तो मिल जाएगा. Clear? So normally ये tendency होती है when, you take the inputs from various functional departments. Zero based budgeting इस चीज को बिल्कुल nullify कर देता है. If you need a budget for your department or for your activity, you have to justify it. Why you need a budget for it? You have to explain the cost benefit analysis. You have to explain why the money is given to you, why you want it, what you will accomplish out of it, कौन से objectives आप fulfill करोगे, what will be the outcome. So you have to justify if you want the budget allocation for your activity or for your department or for your function. You have to justify. And according to the justification, priority will be given. Ki, okay, this activity is most important, so budget will be allocated. Then the second one, then the third one, and so on. So this is the basic concept of zero-based budgeting. Every time it has to be justified. That why money is given to you. All right. So zero-based budgeting is the method of budgeting which requires each cost element to be specifically justified. Justified is the key word for it. Though the activities to which budget relates are not being undertaken for the first time. Maybe this activity is undertaken every year, But again, every year you have to justify. Clear? This is in contrast with traditional budgeting. Traditional budgeting में क्या होता है, अगर एक बार आपको एक एक्टिविटी के लिए पैसा दिया जा रहा है बजट में, तो every year it will be given कि ये तो बजट देना ही है इसको. But zero based budgeting में you have to justify for every activity every time. The cost of each activity is to be justified, and without justification the budget allowance is zero. अगर आप justify नहीं कर पाए, आपको बजट में allocation नहीं मिलेगा. Zero based budgeting differs from conventional system because it mainly starts from zero and not on the basis of historical levels of historical means past trends, past performances के base पे नहीं दिया जाएगा. So in the customary budgeted system, the traditional budget है, last year figures are accepted as they are और cut back और increase. So last year normal budget में क्या होता है, last year figure से आप start करते हो, उसको या तो plus करते हो या minus करते हो. कम चाहिए तो थोड़ा कम कर देते हो या थोड़ा बढ़ा देते हो, but last year figures we take as the base. But in zero based budgeting, no. You consider it as if it's happening for the first time. So zero-based budgeting starts with the premise that budget for the next period is zero, so long that the demand function process, project or activity is not justified. जब तक आप justify नहीं करोगे, budget allocation will be zero. So zero-based budgeting is an activity-based budgeting where budgets are prepared for each activity rather than functional department. तो कोई department का system नहीं है, कोई functions का system नहीं है, कोई past performance का system नहीं है. Every activity you have to justify. So justification in the cost benefit analysis is required to be given. So then the activities are evaluated as per your justification and then they are prioritized. So stages, सबसे पहले you have to identify and describe the decision package. Decision package means जिसके लिए आपको budget का decision लेना है. हमें तो activities, basically the activities. Evaluation of the activities, फिर उसको रैंकिंग करना है हमने बेस्ड ऑन योर जस्टिफिकेशन. तो इट्स अ प्रेरोगेटिव ऑफ द टॉप मैनेजमेंट कि किसका जस्टिफिकेशन सबसे प्रायोरिटाइज है और सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट है, सिग्निफिकेंट है, तो ये एक्टिविटी सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट है. एंड देन रिसोर्सेज आर एलोकेटेड ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ द प्रायोरिटी गिवन टू द एक्टिविटीज, जो इंपॉर्टेंस के बेस पे उसको रेटिंग की जाती है. So first of all, identification and description that you have to, which activities to be undertaken, which programs or functions or projects to be undertaken. And then उनकी पूरा technical specification describe होता है detail में. What is the financial impact, how much money it will be required, what is the benefit, and what are the other factors which will, influence it. Then it will be evaluated on the basis of कितना funds चाहिए, what are the regulatory requirements, what are the organizational objectives, are they taking the organizational objectives forward or not? And then they are prioritized. So allocation of resources after it's, the ranking is done, then the allocation of resources is done. So this is zero-based budgeting, a very, very important concept of zero-based budgeting. So budget ratio, but there is one more, concept which is called as performance budgeting, which is, I can't see here, but performance budgeting, again, it has assumed importance, performance budgeting. Performance budgeting is that you have to evaluate not only the financial performance, but the overall organization performance. So you must have charted out the objectives of the organization. कि ये objectives हैं organization के. So now you will be asked, क्या ये जो objectives हैं ये achieve हुए हैं? How will you evaluate it? So to basically achieve the organizational objectives, you have to have, certain responsibility chart. कि to achieve these objectives, this responsibility is given to this responsibility center. So all the performances chart will be made. What money has been given to you and what is the outcome. So input output ratio is evaluated for performance budgeting. If this money is allocated to you, what is the outcome of this? So that is performance budgeting. All right. It goes beyond just the financial impact. You have to justify, you have to give the outcome of the input which are required, which are allocated. And you are answerable for any deviation. So your responsibility is allocated to every person concerned, to every, manager of the responsibility center or every concerned person, the responsibility is given. Whatever inputs they have been given, and also the authority. Whatever input is been given in terms of finance firms, in terms of authority, in terms of power, then they will be asked the outcome of it. So they have the performance parameters. कि ये आपके performance parameters हैं. Have you able to achieve this? क्योंकि सबके performance parameters combine होके organization के performance parameter evaluate होता है. This is performance budgeting. And it is broken down to many aspects. It will be evaluated through the balance sheet. It will be evaluated through the income statement. It will be evaluated through other financial reports which we make. It is evaluated on the basis of sales volume कितना किया है. It is evaluated on the basis of advertisement में पैसा कितना लगाया है और कितना outcome आया है. So on the basis of various reports and references and formats, the performance of the organization vis-a-vis the objectives are evaluated, which is called as performance budgeting. Performance budgeting means कि सबके budget criteria बना दिए. Performance के criteria has been set. Performance parameters have been set. ये होना चाहिए. And then it will be evaluated. What is the outcome of it? तो सबके अगर outcome favorable है, that means we have achieved the organizational objective. So it's a broader view. It's an organizational context budgeting. All right, which is a very important factor, which is called as performance budgeting. So through this, I just got, that, you should understand performance budgeting also. Now coming to the budget ratio. Again, budget ratio. So when we calculate some ratios, it's always to evaluate something. All right. So again, when we talk about the budget ratio, we always evaluate what should be and what actually is. Clear? So budget ratios provide information about the performance level, the extent of deviation of actual from the budgeted. So if the ratios are on the basis of budget, so it has to be comparison of budget with the actuals. And whether it's favorable or unfavorable, we have to see. So if the ratio is 100% or more, it's considered to be favorable. And if it is less, it's considered to be unfavorable. Okay, so these are the budget ratios. Efficiency ratio, standard hours divided by actual hours into 100. Please note down. Efficiency ratio. Then there is activity ratio, standard hours divided by budgeted hours. What do you mean by standard hours? What's the difference between standard hours and budgeted hours? Standard hours are what should be. Kitna hona chahiye, standard hours. What should be? The benchmark. Budgeted means what will be. You are making the budget. What will be. And actual is what actually comes out to be. All right. So you should be very clear about all the three terms. Actual is what actually is. What actually comes out to be in real time. Standard is what should be. Budgeted hours means what will be. All right. As per the benchmark set, what will be? This should be the budget. कि इतना होना चाहिए. All right. ये standard है. Budget है कि इतना होगा. हमने पूरा जो analysis किया है, इतना होगा. And actual है जो हुआ है. All right. So that is how you have to understand. So standard capacity usage ratio, budgeted hours divided by maximum possible hours in the budgeted period. जितना maximum hours है. Actual capacity, actual hours divided by maximum possible, and actual usage of budgeted capacity. So this is the way we calculate certain ratios to evaluate the performance. All right. Just have a note of this. We'll see whether we have an illustration on this or not. All right. So let's move on. Okay, we have an illustration here. So we have standard working hours, 8 hours per day or 5 days per week. Maximum capacity 50 employees. Actual working are 40 employees. Actual hours expected to be 6,400 hours. Standard hours expected to be 8,000 hours. Actual hours worked Actual hours worked. So these must be the actual hours. Actual hours worked. So this should be the actual hours. Standard hours earned. Standard hours earned. So this should be the standard hours. Actual hours expected to be. Actual hours expected to be. This should be the budgeted hours. Actual hours expected to be. जो होना चाहिए. Standard hours expected to be. Standard hours expected to be should be the maximum. Standard hours expected to be should be the maximum possible hours. Maximum possible hours. All right. So standard hours earned, these are standard hours. Actual hours actually worked should be actual hours. Actual hours expected to be worked, budgeted hours. Standard hours expected to be earned. Standard hours expected to be earned should be, so that could be the maximum possible hours. Efficiency ratio. How you calculate efficiency ratio? So just note down all these four. Efficiency ratio, let us calculate here. Standard hours divided by actual hours. Efficiency ratio, standard hours divided by actual hours. So standard hours are how much? 7 hours, and 7,000 hours divided by 6,000 hours into 100. 7,000 hours divided by 6,000 hours into 100. Efficiency ratio. 7,000 hours divided by 6,000 hours into 100. Efficiency ratio answer should be in percentage. You can calculate, please. Efficiency ratio, standard hours divided by actual hours into 100. Activity ratio, standard hours divided by budgeted hours. So budgeted hours, I think it was 6,400. So standard hours 7,000 divided by budgeted hours. Let us quickly check. Budgeted hours, okay, but actual hours expected to be, yes, it should be budgeted hours. 6,400 into 100. So that it is the activity ratio. If you can, 116 is what? Beta 116 is which ratio? Efficiency or activity? So efficiency should be good. Standard hours means 7,000. It should be, and you have taken 6,000 hours. So again, efficiency is more than 100%, which is favorable. So I think it should be 116. But you're just writing the figures. How would I know kaun sa activity calculate kiya hai, kaun sa efficiency? At least mention it if you're writing the answers. 7,000 divided by 6,000. 116. So it's efficiency ratio. 116.66 or 67 you can write. 116.67% is the efficiency ratio. Activity ratio. Standard hours, what should be, and budgeted hours is what is expected to be, 6,400. So again, it's a favorable ratio, 7,000. क्या होना चाहिए और क्या expected है कि होगा, तो कम है budgeted, so it's a favorable thing. Okay, activity is 109. Activity is 109.37. I hope the answers are correct. Activity is 109.37. Okay. It's always better you also specify which ratio you are calculating. Calendar ratio. Available working hours divided by budgeted working hours. Available working hours dekhein. Available working hours. Available working hours divided by budgeted working hours. So how much are the available working hours and the budgeted working hours? Days or, okay, days. Available working days. So available working days are 8 hours per day, 5 days a week, and 4 weeks. So 5 fours are 20. Available working days are, and 1 special day holiday. So can you tell me available and budgeted? So 20 must be the budgeted working days, And available is a one holiday, so 19 working days. All right. Available are 19 and the budgeted are 20. अवेलेबल वर्किंग डेज, एक छुट्टी है एक हॉलीडे है, तो 19 अवेलेबल है और बजटेड है 20 into 100. So what is the calendar ratio? Anybody? Just calculate the calendar ratio. Of course, it's not favorable. You had 20 working days and you have worked only for 19. Available are 19. So the answer should be less than 100. Come on, quickly, calendar ratio. Any answers for calendar? Let me calculate. 19 divided by 20 percentage, 95%. 95% is the calendar ratio. I also can calculate, but I think answer should come from your side. Once you'll solve it, you'll understand it better. Yes, calendar ratio is 95%. Standard capacity usage ratio, budgeted hours divided by maximum possible hours in the budgeted period. Just calculate. So budgeted hours were how much? 6,400. Budgeted hours 6,400 and maximum possible hours, how much it was? Maximum possible hours 8,000. Standard hours expected to be, yes, 8,000. 8,000 are the maximum possible hours into 100. So just calculate the percentage. I'm writing for you. Actual capacity, actual hours worked was say 6,000. Divided by maximum possible hours, 8,000 into 100. Calculate the percentage. Actual working hours again 6,000 and budgeted hours are 6,400. So what is expected was 6,400, but the actual is 6,000. So again, it's unfavorable. So just calculate all the 3%. Okay, standard capacity is 80%. Good. Standard capacity 80%. So out of the maximum possible, you are expecting 6,400. So again, it's unfavorable. Maximum possible was 8,000 and actual were only 6,000 you worked. So again, unfavorable. Actual capacity usage is 75. Okay, good. So answers are coming now. Actual usage of budgeted capacity. आपने कितना budgeted capacity use किया? Budgeted capacity was 6,400. You used 6,000. So again, it's unfavorable. Actual usage of budgeted capacity, the last one, come on. Okay, budgeted is 93.75. 93.75. I hope the answers are correct. Actual budgeted is 93.75. So these are the budget ratios. Sometimes, question comes on this also occasionally. So these are the ratios. You can just, should be very clear what are the 4 hours and the time, and then you can safely calculate. So not very technical to understand. A good concept and fundamental concept it is. All right. All right. So let's move on. This was the illustration we did. All right. So this is the illustration we have to cover. It's the illustration for RTP 2024 exams. So just to go through the illustration, a very good illustration to, make you understand on the recent trends and how things actually and practically work. So this is a good way to do it. So just take a note of this question, all of you, and pay attention. So it's a public sector company, produces a product A. The company is in process of preparing its revenue budget for the year 24. The company has the following information. It has anticipated 12% growth in sales volume from the year 23. All right. So these are the years of 23 and you have to make a budget for 24. All right. So I have to do it here only because it's a very elaborate question. So this is the question. Then it's continued. So this is the question. Again, it's continued. And you have to make, you are a budget controller and you have to make a flexible budget for 24 and also show the budgeted profit or loss for the year. All right. So very fresh question and a very good one to understand, how things actually work. So 2023 and 2024, I'll be explaining you here only. You'll do it on your own. I'll just explain you how we do it. So let's start point by point, okay? It has anticipated 12% growth in sales volume from the year 2023 of 4,20,000 tons. So that means 2023 tons. If I talk about tons, I'm doing it here, okay? I'm not even writing the particulars. I'm, explaining it for point 1, which is sales. So point 1 is the sales volume. 4,20,000 for 2023. All right. And it's anticipating a growth of 12% in 2024. So 4,20,000 plus 20%. Plus 12%. 4,20,000 plus 12%. So there is expected 12% growth in 2024. So the volume comes to 470,400. Clear? 12% growth in 2024. So this is the volume. Now coming the sale price. So this is the sale price. 23,000 per ton will be increased by 10% provided wholesale price index increases by 5%. So in 2023, the sale price per ton is 23,000. So into 23,000 per ton is the sale price. Clear? For 2024, they are saying it will be increased by 10% only if WIP increases by 5%. Just see this point. WIP is increased by only 4%. That means there will be no increase. The projected increase in WPI is 4%. तो इसीलिए सेल प्राइस पर टन इंक्रीज नहीं होगा. 10% इंक्रीज तभी होता अगर WPI 5% से इंक्रीज होता, बट वो सिर्फ 4% से इंक्रीज हुआ है. सो यू विल नॉट चेंज इट. It will remain to be 23,000 per ton only. Clear? So students, this is the volume. These are the units or the tons, basically the tons. And then the sale price per ton. So you can safely calculate the sales. You can do it on your own. So tons I have given you, and per ton also it's given. So you can calculate the sales value. Clear? So now sales is done. Tons and per ton rate. Now coming to material. We'll discussing one point at a time. We'll go and sequence only. Now we are starting with raw material. 2.3 tons of raw material are required per ton of product A. The raw material cost is 4,500 per ton. The price of raw material will increase by 10% if WIP increases by 5%. Is WIP increasing by 5%? No, it is not increasing. That means material cost per ton also will remain the same in both the years. Clear? So 2.3 tons of raw material is required per ton of A. So that means 23,000, 2.3 tons of material is required into 4,20,000 tons of product A in 23. And same 2.3 tons into 470,400. 2024 के टन्स आपके 470,400 हैं जो 12% इंक्रीज करके आए हैं. So these will be the tons. और मल्टीप्लाई करोगे आप, रेट विल रिमेन द सेम 4,500 पर टन. रॉ मटेरियल का रेट विल बी सेम इन बोथ द ईयर. टन्स विल बी डिफरेंट क्योंकि दोनों की सेल्स टन्स भी डिफरेंट हैं. क्लियर? आई होप यू मस्ट हैव अंडरस्टूड बाय नाउ. So we have done in this slide, we have understood sales volume. 4,20,000 tons volume था 23 का. 12% growth हुई है for 24, which is expected. So we have increased the tons. Let me write the tons here. You don't get confused. These are not units. These are tons. Okay. 4,20,000 tons and 4,70,400 tons. 12% increase के बाद. Sale price per ton, no change. Raw material 2.3 tons per product a ton. So दोनों प्रोडक्ट के दोनों साल के टन्स डिफरेंट हैं, तो रॉ मटेरियल उसी हिसाब से टन्स आ जाएगा. And raw material cost per ton is also same. So till raw material we have done. So you can calculate the value. So sales value you have to calculate and raw material value you can calculate. All right. I'm moving further now. Now material is done. We'll be starting with labor. 6,000 employees works for the company. So again, I'm writing 2023 and 2024. The company works 26 days in a month. 85% of the employees are permanent and getting salary as per 5-year wage agreement. The earnings per man shift और एक शिफ्ट है 8 hours की. That means per man shift एक शिफ्ट है 8 hours की, तो एक day 8 hours working हुआ basically is 3,000. So basically it's 3,000 per day of 8 hours shift, excluding terminal benefits. The new wage agreement will be implemented from 1st July 2024 and is expected that a 15% increase in pay will be given. So let's do it for, just sort it and then solve it. 85% of the employees तो permanent हैं और बाकी आपके casual employees हैं, ठीक है? So 85%, 6,000 का 85% आप करोगे, 6,000 into 85%. 5,100 employees. 5,100 employees आपके permanent हैं. So 5,100 employees, how will you do for 23? पहले 85% employee का आप करोगे. So 5,100 into 26 days in a month into 12 months into 3,000. This is the salary for permanent employees. 85% of 6,000 are permanent. So 5,100 employees हो गए. 26 days they have worked in a month. 12 months and 3,000 is per day की salary. So this will be the total. Total आप अपने आप calculate करो. So this is for 85%. For 23. Now coming to 15%. Casual employees are getting a wage of 850. The wages is linked to consumer price index. The present is this and expected in 2024. तो पहले 23 का देखते हैं. 15% employees आपके casual हैं. So 900 employees हो गए. 85% है 5,100 और 15% है 900 employees. तो 900 employees आपके casual employees हैं. 900 employees into 26 days into 12 months into 850 का wage rate है casual employees का, जो casual temporary labor है, into 850. You calculate the value on your own. So 85% is the permanent employee and 15% are casual laborers. Now coming to 24, first of all. First of all for permanent employees. The new wage agreement implemented from 1st July and is expected that a 15% increase in pay will be given. So that means 24 May for 6 months the salary was same. For rest of the 6 months आपको 15% increase करना है. Is it clear? So 15% increase is not for the entire year. 15% increase is only for the 6 months. All right. So फर्स्ट 6 months की सैलरी सेम है और बाकी के 6 months की सैलरी में 15% इंक्रीज है. ऑलराइट, सो व्हाट यू कैन डू, 5,100 into 26 into 6 months. फर्स्ट 6 months का तो सैलरी सेम है 3,000. इज इट क्लियर? ये फर्स्ट 6 months की है. प्लस रेस्ट ऑफ द 6 months 5,100 into 26 days into 6 months into 3,000 प्लस 15. टोटल कर लो इसको जितना भी आ रहा है, प्लस 15%. क्लियर? सो फर्स्ट 6 मंथ्स की सैलरी सेम है, बैलेंस 6 मंथ्स की सैलरी उतना ही सैलरी में 15% ऐड और कर दो. All right. So this is the permanent employee for 24. Now coming to the casual employees. Casual employees, they are saying it is wages is based on consumer price index. Consumer price index was 165 in 23. And in 24, the consumer price index is expected to be 173.59. 173.59. Let me make it very clear. All right. So this is. So how will you calculate the wages for 24? Simple. 850 is the wages for 23. It is as per the price index 165.17. और न्यू प्राइस इंडेक्स है 173.59. सो जस्ट कैलकुलेट द वेज रेट विज़ न्यू सीपीआई. तो अगर 850 165 के बेस पे थी तो 173 के बेस पे कितना वेज होगा? 850 into 173.59 divided by 165.17. It will come out to 893.33, the new wage rate for 2024. So 900 employees into 26 days into 12 months into 893.33. This is the way you will do. All right. So casual employees, the wage rate is on the basis of CPI. CPI 23 का भी आपको दिया हुआ है और 24 का भी दिया हुआ है. So just calculate the wage rate for 24 on the basis of CPI. तो ये 24 का CPI है और ये 23 का CPI है. ठीक है. So the new wage rate will come 893.33. We just calculate the value. So we are done with the labor, permanent and casual labor for 23 and for 24. Students, I hope you have understood and you are doing it also side by side. Let's move on to the next cost. I'm erasing it off now. Okay, the next one, power cost. Power cost for 23 is 42 lakh for 7 lakh units. 60% power is used for production purpose, directly related to production volume, and remaining for employee quarters and administrative office. That means 60% is variable power and 40% is fixed power. All right. So 60% and 40%. So 7 lakh units. वेरिएबल है, 60% वेरिएबल है, प्रोडक्शन के बेस पे पावर चेंज होगा, तो आपको पर यूनिट निकालना पड़ेगा. तो पहले तो आप पावर का पर यूनिट निकालो. 42 लाख वाज द कॉस्ट डिवाइडेड बाय 7 लाख यूनिट्स. पावर कॉस्ट का पर यूनिट रेट है 6 पर यूनिट. एक यूनिट ऑफ पावर का कॉस्ट है 6. सो 6 पर यूनिट पावर का कॉस्ट है. अब आप यूनिट्स अलग करेंगे. 7 लाख यूनिट्स में 60% इज वेरिएबल यूनिट्स क्योंकि वो प्रोडक्शन से रिलेटेड हैं. सो 4,20,000 इज द यूनिट्स फॉर 23. ऑल राइट, 4,20,000 यूनिट्स आर यूज्ड फॉर 23 एज पर द. सो दैट मीन्स कितना प्रोडक्शन हुआ है 23 में. आई एम गोइंग टू द प्रीवियस स्लाइड. हम इतना प्रोडक्शन लेंगे, 4,20,000 प्रोडक्शन, क्योंकि सेल्स है तो वील अज्यूम कि सेम प्रोडक्शन हुआ होगा. 4,20,000 प्रोडक्शन टन्स एंड फॉर 24 4,7,400 प्रोडक्शन टन्स. ऑल राइट, फॉर 23 द प्रोडक्शन वाज 4,20,000 and in 24 the production was 4,7,400. so similarly, और यहाँ पे आप देखो एक यूनिट को बनाने के लिए 1 किलोवाट आवर का आपका प्रोडक्शन, आपका यूसेज हो रहा है. सो 4,20,400. तो 24 का भी प्रोडक्शन 4,7,400 होगा. 12% इंक्रीज है 24 में. सो 4,20,000 यूनिट्स are used for 23 power units. तो 12% प्रोडक्शन ज्यादा है 24 का. 12% we have already done it here. 12% प्रोडक्शन ज्यादा है 24 का. तो यूनिट्स भी 12% ज्यादा होंगे. 60% इज वेरिएबल प्रोडक्शन. ऑल राइट. एंड द बैलेंस कितना हुआ? 280. 280 यूनिट्स आर फिक्स्ड. वो सिर्फ एम्प्लॉय क्वार्टर्स और एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव में पावर लग रहा है. So 280 will be fixed. So these are the units for 23 and 24. I repeat, 60% power का usage variable है, which will change as per the production, and 40% will be consumed, will be treated as fixed. So 60% of 7 lakh units is 4,20,000, और एक यूनिट में एक ही यूनिट लग रहा है पावर का, इसलिए 420 है. 24 का प्रोडक्शन 12% ज्यादा है, तो 12% यूनिट्स भी ज्यादा लगेंगे, क्योंकि एक यूनिट में 1 किलोवाट आवर पावर लग रहा है. और 40% जो पावर है वो फिक्स्ड है, वो तो एम्प्लॉय और क्वार्टर्स और एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव के लिए है. सो दिस इज द टोटल. सो टोटल यूनिट्स फॉर 23 आर 7 lakh as given. Now calculate the total for 24. 470,400 plus 2,80,000. 750,400 आपका 24 का पावर है, इंटू 6 पर यूनिट, इंटू 6 पर यूनिट आपकी पावर कॉस्ट आ जाएगी. दिस इज द वे वी डू. ऑल राइट. सो 60% वेरिएबल पावर, 40% फिक्स्ड पार्ट यूनिट्स. 60% आपके प्रोडक्शन के हिसाब से चेंज होगा. 24 में प्रोडक्शन 12% ज्यादा होगी. 6 पर यूनिट का पावर का रेट है, तो आपकी पावर की जो कॉस्ट है यू कैन कैलकुलेट. All right. Now we are moving to next one. 23 में the company has paid 60 lakh for safety and maintenance. This will increase in proportion to volume of production. So 23 में 60 lakh रहेगा. 23 and 24. I'm moving to 23 and 24. तो 23 में 60 lakh ही रहेगा. It is given. 24 में it will increase in proportion to the volume of production. कितना प्रोडक्शन बढ़ रहा है 24 में? Please tell me. How much production is increasing in 24 in percentage? Answer should come from your side. How much production we are increasing in 24? How much production we are increasing in 24? In 23, the safety and maintenance works is 60 lakh as per the production of 23. तो 24 में कितना safety और maintenance होगा? It will change in proportion to production. I've just, yes, 12%. Very good. So that means you are listening. So it will be 60 lakh plus 12%. Clear? It is just changing in the proportion to production. So basically it's a variable cost. All right. So till here we have done safety. I hope you have understood. Each and every, I've explained you how to do it. You must do this illustration again along with the values. All right. Moving on. The company has paid 1,20,000 for purchase of diesel. So again 2023 and 2024. Yes, 12%. Very good. So company has paid 1,20,000 for purchase of diesel to be used in car hired for administrative purpose. So they are hiring the cars also. और डीजल अपने आप, मतलब डीजल खुद पैसा उसमें लगा रहे हैं. All right. So they are incurring the cost of diesel on their own. तो डीजल का कितना खर्चा आ रहा है 23 में? 1,20,000. So 1,20,000 का डीजल का एक्सपेंस है 23 में. The cost of the diesel will increase by 15% in 24. So now there's another paragraph for it. During the year 23, the company has paid 6 lakh for car hire charges, excluding fuel cost. So 6 lakh के आपकी car hire charges भी हैं. All right. So this is diesel and this is car hire charges. So 1,20,000 is the diesel for 23. And 6 lakh is the car hire charge. So car hire पे ले रहे हैं, but डीजल अपने आप पैसा खर्च करते हैं डीजल पे. So 23 की ये कॉस्ट है. Now 24. The company has decided to reimburse. There is a difference between incurring the cost and reimburse का क्या मतलब हुआ? कि जहां से आप कार हायर कर रहे हो वही डीजल भी आपको भर के देंगे और आप उनको डीजल का भी पैसा दोगे। तो आप कार हायर चार्जेस का भी पैसा दोगे और डीजल का भी पैसा दोगे जहां से आप कार हायर कर रहे हो। दिस इज द डिफरेंस। क्लियर? सो 23 में आप कार हायर कर रहे थे बट डीजल अपने आप यूज कर रहे थे। बट 24 में आप कार हायर चार्जेस तो दे ही रहे हो, आप डीजल के भी पैसे दे रहे हो। डीजल भी आप नहीं दोगे, डीजल वो भर के देंगे आपको। ठीक है? So car hire charges will remain the same, I guess. Yes, car hire charges are the same. So the company has decided to reimburse the diesel cost to the car rental company. So diesel cost is 1,20,000 plus 15% increase. 1,20,000 plus 15% increase plus 15%. So 1,20,000 plus 15%, 1,38,000. But ये reimburse है. All right, you are not bearing the cost. अपने आप खर्च नहीं कर रहे हो, आप उसको उसका भी पैसा दे रहे हो। Clear? For this you have to pay 5% GST also. Now आप जो भी पेमेंट आप उसको reverse charge mechanism is कि where okay, reverse charge, what I hope you know the concept of reverse charge mechanism. So very briefly let me explain you. Normally the GST is paid by the service provider. मतलब जो कार आपको दे रहा है हायर पे वही जीएसटी पे करेगा। बट रिवर्स चार्ज में क्या होता है, जो सर्विस रिसीवर है वो जीएसटी पे करेगा। सो हियर दिस कंपनी विल पे जीएसटी, नॉट द कैब वाला पर्सन। ऑलराइट, व्हाई दिस हैपेंस? बिकॉज द कैब वाला पर्सन मस्ट नॉट बी अ कंपनी। जीएसटी हमेशा रजिस्टर्ड कंपनी पे करती है, रजिस्टर्ड डीलर। सो हो सकता है वो जो कैब हायर पर्सन है वो रजिस्टर्ड ना हो, वो कंपनी नहीं है। तो इसलिए जो कंपनी, दोनों में जो भी कंपनी होगी वो पे करेगा। तो यहाँ पे ये कंपनी है तो दिस कंपनी विल पे जीएसटी। अगर वो रजिस्टर्ड कंपनी होती तो वो पे करते, बट मे बी कार हायर चार्जेस वाला जो पर्सन है वो कंपनी नहीं है, रजिस्टर्ड नहीं है, तो इसीलिए जो कंपनी है दोनों में से वही पे करेगी। तो यहाँ पे तो इसलिए हम उसको रिवर्स कह रहे हैं, क्योंकि नॉर्मली प्रोवाइडर पे करता है, यहाँ पे रिसीवर पे कर रहा है। ऑल राइट, एंड दे आर सो ये तो इस कंपनी के लिए वो भी कॉस्ट हो गई। ऑल राइट, सो जीएसटी भी आप पे करोगे प्लस जीएसटी, टोटल अमाउंट पे 7,38,000 पे 5% जीएसटी। जीएसटी 5% ऑन 7,38,000। जीएसटी आप 5% पे करोगे 7,38,000 पे। ऑल राइट, सो 23 की कॉस्ट है 720, 24 की कॉस्ट है डीजल 15% इंक्रीज प्लस कार हाई चार्जेस प्लस 5% जीएसटी, वो भी कंपनी की कॉस्ट है। बिकॉज कंपनी विल नॉट गेट जीएसटी इनपुट क्रेडिट, कंपनी को कोई इनपुट क्रेडिट नहीं मिल रहा है, सो इट्स अ कॉस्ट टू द कंपनी। ऑलराइट, सो दिस इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, you just go through again and understand it better. Now coming to depreciation. Yes. All right. Now coming to depreciation of fixed assets, 80/40 will be 15% lower. So depreciation in here is 80 lakh. Okay, 840 lakhs. So minus 15%. So in 2024, the depreciation is less 15%. The amount is already given to you. So this is the total cost. Sales आपने सबसे टॉप में निकाली थी, sales से total cost less करो, you will get the budgeted profit or loss. Is it clear? So the sales at the top, calculate the value, सारी cost less करो, starting from raw material, then labor, then your power cost, then your safety maintenance, then your purchase diesel cost, car hire charges, depreciation, sales से सारी की सारी cost less करो, you will get the budgeted cost for 23 and also for the 24. All right. So students, I wanted to, cover this illustration in detail. So of course, due to paucity of time, we won't be. No, it's mentioned in the question, this company will not get GST as input credit. That is why GST will be a cost to the company. If you get the input credit, it's not a cost to you. But since the company is not getting GST input credit, it's a cost to the company. All right. So students, that's all for budgetary and budgetary control. We have tried to cover as many concepts and, we have tried to cover as many illustrations as possible. Always focus on the fundamentals, the concept. If you are clear with the concept and a general understanding of everything, you should have the general understanding of income tax, of GST, of accounts, of the formats of accounts, of the basic concepts of financial management and costing and accounts and income tax and law. So it's all interrelated. So कहीं ना कोई concept आएगा आपको, ठीक है? So with this, just practice thoroughly all the accounting, the cost accounting concepts, all the management accounting concepts. Practice everything that has been taught. Practice it again and again. Give time for revision, and I think practice only will make it perfect. There is no shortcut to it. So all the best for your exams. Happy learning, happy studying. I'm CA Vibha Vadhavan signing off today, and all the best to all of you. Hope lots of success to all of you. So thank you and good day. Bye bye.